Hey everyone, Mark and Joey here on a Sunday morning, and Sunday mornings are usually kind of free right now for us because all the stuff's happening later today. We've done all our prediction shows before this, but it's nice Sunday NFL football, and we're doing NFL football camps, so it fits in really well. Just before we get started, I want to mention the website, ultimatesportschannel.com. I encourage you to go there. We have a sports feed with all kinds of different stories on the website, along with where we're showing the different podcasts. If you'd like to get off video, do it on audio. We also have some sponsors there. So we really appreciate it if you can go to the website and see everything about us and then show up for the shows, which is really great. Subscribe to YouTube. We're now on YouTube. We have a ton of videos up there now. We've moved everything there, as well as on Vimeo, where we're doing fantastic. 18,000 viewers the other day, we appreciate that so much. But we're also doing YouTube. So subscribe wherever you can. Follow us wherever you can. Make sure you don't miss any of the podcast. Also, we have a sponsor, CoolEyeCover.com, and if you've been with us for a little bit, they were with us a couple months ago. They've done a revamp of the site. We got some feedback talking about what we need as sports and people sitting outside watching sports all the time, playing sports, that we need quality glasses. And so they've removed all the cheap stuff off the site. Now when you go there, it's only premium glasses, the kind that you need to be involved in sports, participating or watching. You sit out there at a football game for 3-4 hours, baseball game for 8 hours. No, I'm only kidding. It feels like 8 hours. But you're sitting out there, you need quality coverage for your eyes. Check out CoolEyeCover.com. Okay, let's get into the NFL. We're down to our last division. We've just done New Orleans, and we're going to move on to Carolina now as the number 2 team probably in that division. And move on to the quarterback that I just can't stand.
A number 2 team in this division, really?
We're moving on to a quarterback. Joey said in one of our shows we're going to go on a hatred when we get to Carolina. And a quarterback that the style just doesn't work for me. But anyway, Joey, tell us about Carolina.
Well, I mean, Carolina's got some talent. Really kind of been disappointing as far as I'm concerned for most of Cam Newton's career. They had the one good run where obviously got a Super Bowl and lost. First of all, they're not the second best team. That'd be Atlanta. We'll get to that later. But anyways, yes, Carolina's into this.
Well, they're going to be my second best.
Yes,
team.
Carolina has talent, but Carolina cannot get it together. They cannot find ways to win. They do not control Cam Newton, and his style does not work well enough right now in the current NFL. He has, and I might be too bold here, the talent, in my opinion, of a Mahomes, of a Baker Mayfield, all of those guys, and cannot make it work because he refuses, in my mind, to use his arm. And then when he uses his arm, it's not enough throughout a game, that he is inaccurate. He throws it over receivers' heads more than I can count, throws in the ground. It's really bad. That's because he does not work on it, and they're not using enough in the game that it becomes rusty when they think it's time to throw the ball. They have every weapon you can ask for. First of all, let's go with the top 3 weapons. People talk about this all the time. Coach, I like him. Receivers, good enough. Great quarterback and fantastic running back in Christian McCaffrey, who I think might become one of the greatest running backs we'll ever see. Certainly at his size, he's jacked as hell. He's just a monster, but he's a great receiving running back, which is what you need these days. He's a good running back, so he's a good 3-down back. With Cam Newton, with good enough receiver, with the head coach, there's no reason why this team shouldn't be more successful, except the fact the play calling is horrible on the offense side of the ball for Carolina. They don't run the right plays. I feel like he doesn't throw it well enough because they don't work on it, and they rely on these 2 guys to run the ball. You cannot put up enough points with just your quarterback and your running back running all the time. It's impossible, and that's why they can't win games. In a division, by the way, with Matt Ryan and Drew Brees. And if Jameis Winston can ever figure himself out, honestly, Tampa Bay could be pretty good too.
Yeah.
But it's a mess in Carolina for someone with this type of talent. They had chances when New Orleans was really bad.
Well, here's the answer. You either tell them to do what you want them to do or get rid of them. I mean, these are the 2 choices. The problem here is we want to look at all the top teams in the league. Drew Brees, pocket quarterback. Tom Brady, pocket quarterback. Mahomes, a pocket quarterback unless he needs to run.
He can run, yeah.
He can run. There's a difference between, can run and run on every play. It's the difference between being a really great quarterback.
That's probably Wilson.
Rams, tell me who.
Well, Jared Goff. Aaron Rodgers, if he pockets up, he'll be a better quarterback.
And he only runs when he needs to. He starts in the pocket.
He starts in the pocket.
But
Big Ben can start in the pocket.
Well,
but
that's all he does.
Him and like it's like Russell Wilson. They think about
Well,
moving.
even Russell Wilson, I don't like how much he runs, but
That's what I mean,
but
though. I'm talking about he's like Cam Newton.
yeah, exactly. Like the pocket is where it's at. You build big offensive linemen. You also have offensive linemen that must set up. We've talked about this in our rule changes.
Yeah.
Must set up in this little tight group while the defense is all over the place. You need to get in the pocket. Cam Newton is big enough to be in the pocket. Like I get, Russell Wilson's like, I don't know what, 5'10" or something. He's got to be on the run sometimes to find those pockets to throw the ball. That is not the case with Cam Newton, and he needs to stand back there. Hand the ball off is fine, but then when he's using his arm, he cannot be on the run all the time, and he can't be trying to gain all the yardage himself. This is not how winning teams are built. It doesn't take a genius to watch the film of all the teams that are at the top of the league. It's a no-brainer. And the fact that this coaching staff cannot get him under control, get him to run the game that they're looking for, they need to move him. If he doesn't do it this year, they need to trade him. There'll be lots of trade bait because people will believe in Cam Newton's talent. No doubt about it. They'll feel like they got to get him into another situation. They could get tons for him. They are not going to win with the Cam Newton they've had so far. The one year they had the great season was a really weak schedule. And when they haven't had the really weak schedule, they have not performed.
But they had the weak schedule, also an easy division that year. The other teams weren't very
Right.
good. But yeah, like you're right. So like we talk about all these good quarterbacks that are good in the pocket. But more importantly, and I know you're going to freak out because fans at home will be like, no, they run, but they start in the pocket. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So look at your options in the pocket, then move. Him and Wilson, I believe, both have that problem is that they want to move fast.
It makes your offensive lineman not be able to block for them.
What people don't understand is, like you were saying, they have to be tight, and offensive linemen can make a pocket. What they can't do, and that's why they look bad on certain teams, is when your quarterback's running around, it's hard for them to keep up. I mean, how are you supposed to move? They're
350 pounds.
And that's when they get holding, and then you get mad at your lineman for holding because my quarterback escaped, but he didn't really escape because they didn't hold the guy. He was going to get clobbered.
Yeah.
They build pockets. That's what they do. That's why the greats stay back. And that's why in this NFL, when you got to put a lot of points, you got to be able to throw the ball. Cam Newton has that talent, and they haven't been using it. So they either got to switch it up and force him to do it or get a new quarterback. But this is the problem. And we saw Wilson make adjustments. Yeah. He started throwing in the pocket, got better. Cam Newton needs to do the same thing. And then what bugs me the most, he's big. Yeah. And he has a cannon of an arm.
Back there.
A cannon of an arm. And really, you could eliminate him running at all, and he could be a great quarterback. So I don't understand the urge for him to run. He doesn't like to throw it deep. I don't get that either.
Well, here's the urge to run. Cam Newton wants to be the star on that team.
Well, that's what
there is no doubt about it.
Forever, yeah.
That's his attitude, and I don't care who it is. If your quarterback is going to do that, your team is going to suffer from it. He wants to be the star. He wants to score touchdowns.
He doesn't
want to throw the ball in the end zone. He wants to run over and take the end zone. All these kinds of things. I also believe, and I've talked about this with every team in my mind, when your team is not good, don't showboat. There's no right to showboat when your team is not playing well. You need to suck it up and you need to play better. And that's what he doesn't spend any time doing in my mind. He's all about personal brand. He's all about getting out there and making Cam Newton great. So if this coaching staff cannot calm that down, then they need to move him because they got a good enough team to beat it.
Well, I mean, like I said, I look at McCaffrey alone. You really get a good quarterback in there with a good quarterback running back 2-0. You can create a lot of havoc. And honestly, receivers, I find like they keep blaming receivers for Cam Newton. I feel like receivers are everywhere, and I feel like it's a quarterback's job to make them better. So I don't blame the talent on the team. I think it's good enough. I think the defense is good enough. I see him making too many mistakes. I see the coaching staff not being able to get what they want out of him.
Yeah.
If that is the case, then you got to move. I honestly think of like a Matthew Stafford in this situation would probably get this team in the playoffs. Personally, I truly believe that. So, I just think it's a disappointment that they're not using a weapon of Cam Newton's because you're right. He wants to run the ball. He wants to be the guy, and he will take the hits. That shows his ego. He won't go down. So that means it is ego for him. And between him and McCaffrey, they can run a decent offense. They can do what they've been doing, which is 500 because McCaffrey's so great. He's good enough that they're going to win against bad teams, and they're going to lose against good teams, and they're going to be that team that's 7-9 every single year because that's all they are. And I don't see anything improving or changing here unless they've had conversations where they're changing the playbook and they're going to look at a different style of offense. I think they're going to struggle again this year. Again, they're in a tough division. We talk about this all the time, and people might get tired of it, but NFL is all about division.
Right.
You play 2 games against each team in your division. That's 6 of 16 games gone just from teams in your division. So, they're in trouble as far as I'm concerned with Atlanta, New Orleans, even Tampa Bay can throw out a good one every now and then. Is that against you? Potentially. I don't see Cam Newton and Carolina beating potential wildcard teams. That means basically the second team in every other division is good enough to beat him as far as I'm concerned. I don't see him doing anything special this year. I'd look at 6-10 for me, and honestly, third place in this division.
Well, you've got one thing or
Maybe
another.
even lower, by the way.
Excuse me. Either the coach moves or Newton moves because it's not working.
Right.
So if he can't control him, you move Newton, which quite often, unfortunately for the coach, means the coach movement happens. But one or the other has to happen if they can't make it happen. Early in the season here, they've had enough opportunity. It's not working.
Well, I agree with you
That's what
there.
I see there.
You can get a college coach in there who's used to running those styles of offense, might be able to explore different ways to make
This
it work.
is not at the NFL. Look, as I mentioned before, look at the top of the standings.
They can
Pocket
throw. They
quarterbacks
can
who throw the ball. It's simple, and then you got a running game to go with it. This getting out of the pocket thing, that's the want of all the college guys, all this kind does not work at the NFL. It's proven over the years. Pocket quarterbacks are what win championships, and that's what we need to do, and that's what has to happen in Carolina. Will it happen? I don't know. I'm kind of doubtful of it. I'm hoping that after these disappointing seasons, Newton has realized that his style is not what they need.
Let's be honest, the
And,
coach has gone before him.
that's for sure. I mean, that's likely going to happen, but one way or another, that's what has to happen. So I see what you're saying. If there's been some kind of conversations over the summer to change this offense, get him in the pocket, I see 10-8, 9-7. If they
10-6.
if they're or 10-6, if they're exactly like they were in the last year, in the years that they've missed the playoffs, it'll be exactly.
Well, I tell you what,
record.
if he works on his arm, I mean, they could easily be 10-6, 11-5. They could give the Saints a little bit of trouble too. They've actually beaten the Saints before. In past seasons, they've had decent chances against the Saints. Yeah. If they let his arm fly, he can gun it. So, I mean, how good is that going to be this year? We don't know, but assuming it's the same, because I haven't heard much change. Normally, you hear of something like, oh, they've changed their whole game plan. This, that. I haven't heard much about it. I'm looking at 6-10 really, and honestly, they're going to need to think of something because they have great talent.
Well, there they are. They're the team. Every division has it. The question mark team that we have a feeling on that could change just as easily in the opposite direction. So we'll look for Carolina to be the team we're watching. And by midseason, I might have a different opinion.
Might have a different opinion. Either they could be honestly, 2-14 too. We just don't know how this is going to play out for Carolina. It's really going to matter. I think in the first month, first 4 games, maybe 6 games, you'll see changes happening depending on how it's going. If they start off blistering hot, then they'll get to hang on to their jobs and give it a go. But something's going to change fast for this team, I believe. If it doesn't work really
Coaching
soon
is
here,
gone,
this needs to happen in Carolina. You can't have this talent and not make the playoffs even and give yourself a chance at a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So there you go. Carolina, our question mark in this division.